just towards the end, knowing that I would be okay regardless of if I made it or not, and being able to
Mm,
let go of like the pressures that come with this binary evaluation. Being able to
mm,
be like, you know what, whatever happens, at least I gave it my best. And
yeah.
so I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing for me. Just like, it is as long as you put your best foot forward and you try your hardest, there's nothing more you can do and you won't have any regrets. So
Welcome to where we aim to highlight inspiring people doing amazing things in the Swim Strong family and in the greater swim community. All right, I'm here with Ian Ho. Cannot wait to dive into his story representing Hong Kong. Swum at both in Tokyo and coming up qualified for Paris already, I believe. And so I'm excited to get to dive into his background and story. But first, we got to hit some rapid fire questions. Ian, are you ready?
yes.
All right, let's do it. So, if you had any superpower, what would you choose?
Ooh, breathe underwater.
No one said that yet. That's genius, actually. um, what career path would you choose after swimming? Although I know you're in one right now.
Oof, career path. I mean, I'm pretty locked into 3D printing, which is what I like, but maybe something with design too. Designing 3D printing. Yeah.
That's awesome. What's your favorite pool that you've ever raced at?
Ooh, good question. I think pool versus facility are two different things. My favorite facility, I would say, is the Duna Arena because
Okay.
it's in Budapest. Great facility, three long course pools, really close together, which I'm a fan of. Favorite pool, maybe just the Tokyo Olympic pool. That was pretty sick.
I can imagine. Yeah. How about your favorite movie of all time?
Oh wow. I'm gonna say The Prestige, Christopher Nolan, great
Ooh,
film.
that's a great one. That's a really good one. Do you have a favorite career memory so far? Something that just comes instantly to mind?
Asian Games silver medalist. That was pretty sick.
Yeah, that's amazing. What's a hidden talent you have that people might not know about?
Ooh, uh, I used to play the violin.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I learned how to do a
And
backflip the other day, actually.
really,
Yeah.
that's pretty incredible. That's awesome. Last question I have for you. If you were stuck on a deserted island and you could only pick two, either of your Hong Kong national teammates or Virginia Tech, I'll let you go back to VT days. Virginia Tech teammates, you only get two. Who would give you your best chance of survival?
Ooh. I'm gonna say, all right, my one of my Hong Kong teammates, Adam Chillingworth, give him a shout out here. We room together at every international meet. He's the best. So I think we would get
Awesome.
along. So which is important, I think.
That's important.
It's important. And then I'll say one from Virginia Tech. Uh yeah, I'd say Sean Workman, I feel like he's a resourceful guy. I feel like we need two engineer heads, put them together. I bet we could come up with something.
There you go. Sean is definitely an outdoorsman too, so it's a pretty
Yes.
good pick. Shout out Sean. Well, thanks for answering the rapid fire questions, for letting us get to know you a little bit outside of the typical questions. But Ian, um, really excited to dive into your story because people, I think, can learn so much from your path, from your journey in swimming and in life. And can you share just kind of the beginnings of getting into the sport for yourself, how you got into swimming in the first place?
Absolutely. I think I started when I was 4, and when I say I started, it's really my dad. He would take us, me and my sisters, to the local aquatic center, put us in the water. I'm pretty sure he taught us to swim without like floaties or anything. He just like set us in the water and then just swim away from us, and then we'd like try to swim back. And whenever we started crying, he would just come back and save us. So I think probably pretty standard way of entering swimming,
Mhm.
and then went into summer league at a pretty young age. So, gradually kicking it up from there, and then competitive swimming or stroke school age group, and then senior group since then. So I guess there was never like we're really going to start swimming. It's just like, oh, the next step is just the next step, and
Yeah.
gradually getting into it more.
Something super unique that I have found about your journey is that you weren't like the best in the nation as an age group swimmer by any means. And many people might be shocked by that, seeing the type of times you throw down now. And even now winning a medal on the international stage. Um, and I think a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking they need to be the best 12-year-old, 14-year-old, 16-year-old, 18-year-old, or their swim career doesn't have much promise. But you were actually a walk on at Virginia Tech, right? And so they
Yeah.
didn't really offer you anything off the bat, but you decided to continue to pursue your swim career. And I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about that experience. What was the mindset around going to VT, being a part of the swim team versus deciding is this my sport or not? And obviously you made a great choice, but how did you go about that?
Yeah, that was, I think from a young age, my parents definitely impress upon us like what's important long term, and that's I guess career, degree, grades in school. And so swimming was always a hobby, which I think was a good thing because it kind of kept us like, we're going to swimming and we're having fun. We're not like I'm not out here trying to chase times or putting pressure on myself to try to be recruited or anything like that. And so I had been accepted to Virginia Tech on an academic basis, and thankfully I live here in Blacksburg, where Virginia Tech is, and I swim with the club team is very close to the college team, and so we see each other. And so that summer before I'd been accepted to Virginia Tech and I was going to go in the fall, I like asked the head coach at the time, Ned Skinner. I was like, "Is there any chance I'd be able to swim for y'all?" As like a kind of an afterthought for sure, because I was like,
Mm,
I'm gonna do engineering and like retire from
mhm,
swimming. And he was like, "You know what? I'll let you swim with us this summer. You can train with us, and there's senior champs at the end of the summer, and we'll see how you do there. And if you do all right, maybe we'll consider it after." So went to senior champs, maybe went like 24-0, maybe 23 high in the 50 freestyle. Not nothing crazy, but like I guess good enough.
mhm.
And he offered me a walk on spot that fall. So I
That's
went
awesome.
from no recruiting, no I didn't know anything about the NCAA forms or the amateurism or any of these things I had to do beforehand, and I had to do those in retrospect after being, I guess, verbally accepted to Virginia Tech, and so all of that was new to me. And of course, when people come to me for like, oh, how should I apply? Which I'm like, I'm the wrong person to ask because I have no idea. I didn't do any of that stuff. No one reached out to me, and then yeah,
That's awesome though. Man, that's incredible. And then in college, what was that process? What was your mindset like once you got that walk-on spot? Because you had a meteoric rise in college is at Virginia Tech, and your progress was incredible. And I'm wondering, can you tell people a little bit about that journey and what that process looked like, going from, hey, I just squeaked in a spot to, dang, I'm competing at the on the national stage.
yeah. I think it's a lot of things just lined up well for me. And I've seen many generations of swimmers now coming from different backgrounds of club swimming into college swimming. And I think it's really tough your freshman year to do well coming from club because the change is different. Maybe you don't adjust to weights, new environment, new workload, new training cycle, new coaches, everything that being new, I think makes it really hard for someone to perform as a freshman. So, not to say
Mm-hmm.
that they can't, and obviously I did fairly well, and we got some guys on the team right now that do really well. But I think it was helpful for me to have a fairly similar regimen in club that I do in college swimming. So same number of morning practices. I'm not going from like an 80 or 100K club team to like swimming college sprinter life like 30, 40K. I'm not doing that. So they were fairly
Mm-hmm.
similar. And then I added on weights. And so I was pretty light coming in my freshman year, like 6'1", 148 pounds. And I put on probably close to like 20 pounds my freshman year. So that definitely helped because I was
Mm-hmm.
getting rocked off of the wall. And so that I think just getting stronger, going from no weights to any sort of muscle mass was big my freshman year. I dropped almost a second. went from like walked on with a 21.0 down to like a 20.2 at conference. And then the following year, I think I cracked 20, probably went down to 19.5. Just put on some more weight, got more technical with the sprint. And so I think um, I think that was helpful because I know that I've seen some people who maybe come from a more mismatched club team to college experience that makes it a little bit tougher to transition. And I guess I
Yeah.
was just lucky that at least for me it worked out all right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then all the way through to finishing up at Virginia Tech, when did it start coming into your mind that you might want to do this beyond college? Because before you're talking about trying to figure out if I should just do engineering and just focus on that. Then you got so much better in college, and obviously you're working your butt off while doing engineering at the same time. Um, what when did the thought come into your mind that, hey, I might want to do pro swimming after this because I've gotten to that point where I can do that?
Yeah, there was this moment that I mentioned to the sprint coach at the time, Josh Yuji. He now coaches at Cal.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I have two passports, right? And he was like, dude, you should totally look into that. Like, okay, I landed in Hong Kong, which I have dual citizenship with, and like my uncle asked around for like swimming teams, and he just like picked one, and he's like, all right, we'll just swim for South China Athletic Association. So I'm like, all right, and so there's like a 2 year, like you got to have competed with a club team for 2 years prior. So 2017, I competed my first meet there, pretty good. I'm like this no name guy who shows up to Hong Kong, and they're like, who's this guy? You know, a couple years later, I was like, oh, I guess like my times are fairly competitive, and it's funny that you say that Sean said I have the best underwaters because they're actually so bad. So when he said look at the underwaters, he probably meant look how bad they are and look how far he's gotten without them. Because because when I show up to my long course, objectively is better than my short course because everything about the swimming other than specifically the swimming, I am not good at. The
That's so
dive, the
funny.
streamline, the underwaters, the transition, much worse than everyone else. But the swimming is good. So one less turn, long course was pretty good, and ended up breaking the Hong Kong record in the 50 freestyle in 2019. And that's when I was like, oh,
Dang.
that I'm going to Worlds. I'm going to World University Games after my last collegiate season. Thought I was going to retire 2019 NCAA's, and I was like, that was in March. Went to swim meet in Hong Kong in April. I broke their national record. I'm like, I guess we're gonna keep swimming till July. And then yeah, and then is and now is now.
Just broke the national record. Yeah, that's a good sign that you should keep swimming if you're if you're breaking national records. And that's funny. Sean will probably make fun of me. Yeah, I'm sure I'm misremembering something exactly that
So
he told
good.
me. So he'll probably throw me under the bus when I tell him about this. So, but that's okay. Uh,
Uh,
but that's awesome though. The having the technical skill and being able to outswim people obviously is massive for long course, and the walls have always been something that um in my opinion they're not easy to improve, but like it's the lowest hanging fruit for a lot of people. If you're not good at those, you can improve on those significantly. If you don't have the stroke technique, you're going to be in trouble at the highest level. So
sure.
would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And I guess for me, it's not necessarily the walls. It's I think my flexibility and my streamline, which is really hard for me to increase the range of motion. So I don't
Gotcha.
enter the water in a perfectly straight line or even like this. I think that's really hindering me, and so I've been putting a lot of effort into making that better.
That's awesome. And despite all of that, have an Asian Games silver medal, set Hong Kong national records, and are doing some incredible things in the pool. And so I hope people hear that and say, okay, if even though I'm not perfect in every aspect of my race, I can still be great. I think that's something people sometimes get caught up in, the perfectionist mindset that like, oh, I don't have the greatest underwaters. Oh, I
Sure.
don't have like perfect technique on this, and I don't know. Have you ever struggled with the perfectionist mindset, or are you always just like, I'm doing the best I can with what I have? You've always been pretty easy on yourself, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't really fall into the perfectionism, I don't think. Yeah, I think and I think maybe to a fault where I was like, oh, I can just outswim people. I don't need to work on my underwaters and my streamline. And now looking back, like to my 14, 15-year-old self, like, oh no, I really should have just been more flexible then so that I could just be better now. As opposed to
Hmm.
compensating, like I could have improved in that area and then been hopefully, I mean, I would think much faster than I am now. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Where can you talk a little bit about your mindset in this whole process of, because it sounds like it's super inspiring and sounds almost like you just kind of easily went from like, who is this guy, to superstar at Virginia Tech, and then you did the same thing with the Hong Kong national team. And but what was your work ethic like? What was your mindset like? What did the day to day look like behind the scenes? Um, did you feel like you were doing anything special? Were you just showing up to every practice? Were you putting a focus on nutrition and working your mindset? What was some of the behind the scenes details that helped you in each of those processes?
I don't, I would say that I'm a fairly hard worker. And so, I mean, I don't train like a normal sprinter, I guess, and I don't think I've ever trained like a like what you would consider a conventional sprinter. So my teammates would tell you about this too. Like some of the currently I'm in middle distance. So instead of
Okay.
swimming like sprint workouts, I do modified modified mid. So I swim more than your standard sprinter, I would think, and I think I like the feeling that I know that I've worked hard, and maybe that's a result of like I need to do more to feel like I've like worked hard, so that maybe I am just like in that constant state of trying to convince myself that I'm working hard, so that makes me do more. So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a little bit of that, but I don't think I don't think that I am a super like I have everything down, everything is calculated, I weigh my food. I'm gonna say I don't do any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even in undergrad, I kind of kept that same mentality towards school as I did in high school, where it's like, I'm swimming's still a hobby to me, and I'm here to get my degree. So school will come first, and if that means not sleeping that much, which happened all the time, I would that'll be how it be. There's sometimes um, junior year of undergrad in mechanical engineering had this one class where we had like the entire grade was 4 lab reports, and before every one of those 4 lab reports, me and a bunch of friends would just stay up in the library all night. We have two
Wow.
practices. I'd stay up all night and then roll up to practice the next day. When I was early, coach would be like, "Did you sleep last night?" I'd be like, "I did not." Went to the gym, went to bed. So, and then in terms of like nutrition and stuff, I think generally eating healthy, but I'm not over stressing about like my
Mhm.
macros or calorie counting or anything like that, because I think we have the luxury as swimmers to be able to consume a lot of fuel without needing to worry. And I think as long as you're not overdoing it, it kind of all comes out in the wash. So
Yeah.
I'm not stressing too much about that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's really good because people, there has to be, obviously you have strong work ethic, but you have your priorities in line where you're like, this isn't my whole life. This isn't everything. And actually for you, which I think um, some people it might be the opposite with the student athlete part, you actually, the student part was first for you. It sounds like the athlete part was, you mentioned like a hobby and something, but something that you still took serious and obviously dedicated yourself to, but the student part was number one for you, and yet you still excelled. And I think that just speaks to when you're doing something that is fun and that you enjoy and you're like, I just love the sport, like it's okay to not spend every waking second thinking about swimming. Is that accurate? Is that like your experience, or what would you say in terms of, that's what I'm hearing, but or thinking?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, and maybe it comes down to like perspective, like being able to step back. And I think it's important to have something to balance out swimming. Like I think when you have swimming consume your entire life, I think it's good because you can be dedicated to it and you can really hone in on stuff. But I think there needs to be a balance where you can, mentally detached from that. And for me, that was, or has been, school. So, if I have a bad practice, I'm not dwelling on that all night. It's like, no, I got homework to do. I got papers to write. And so then switching gears from that onto swimming. And so I think it's a good balance, and I've been lucky to have been able to maintain it for as long as I have. And so I
Yeah,
think perspective on, like, yeah, it's a privilege to be able to do what I do, and I'm grateful for what I've been able to do with it and places I've been able to go. And so, being able to take that into every day with a good mindset, I think is really important.
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I feel like very few people have the perspective you're talking about that early. A lot of times it comes after the career's over. It's like, I probably should have spent more time on my career at this point, but and it's just interesting to me seeing the difference between how people approach. And there's no right way or wrong way. Like, obviously, if swimming is the main reason you're doing something, that's awesome. But obviously, don't throw school off to the side and
Yeah.
just not do it at all. But
Yeah, and all
and
this to say, like, I was a pro swimmer when I was in Hong Kong, like during COVID. So like I did put off school,
mhm,
and it was a great year and a half, 18 months of, like, no responsibilities from school, and I was able to really hone in and try to qualify for the Olympics, which I ended up doing. And so not to say like you have to have something or pro swimming's bad or anything like that, but
mhm.
for me, it's just been lucky that I've been able to do both at the same time and been able to manage that.
Yeah. What has that balance been like for you, working full time now and being a pro swimmer, having like um Olympic Games aspirations? And are you already qualified
Yeah.
for Paris?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Congrats, by the way. That's
Thank you.
amazing. So you'll
Thank
be a two-time Olympian.
Yeah.
And so what's that been now, balancing being two-time Olympian, professional swimmer, and full-time worker as well?
Yeah, so I'm a research assistant here at Virginia Tech. So that means that I am still pursuing my doctorate. So I'm still in school.
Gotcha.
So it's like full-time student and, like, I guess full-time athlete, but it's not for the school anymore. So I guess I'm lucky that I've been able to just maintain what it was I was doing before. So student athlete in high school, student athlete in college, and now student athlete in grad school. Just been able to, like, adjust and carry on what I learned from the previous stage to the next stage, and
Mhm.
that's been okay. And especially in grad school, like, it's the time commitment, although it's more, it's not as regimented, which is helpful for me. In like in high school, I still think it's the hardest time to be a student athlete, in my opinion,
Mhm.
because it's like you're in school from 7 to 3, 7 hours a day.
Mm,
I had like 7 classes in a day, and it was a
yeah.
lot. And I think I had the worst performance in school in high school, and then college was hard, but less classes, more time to do homework and stuff, and then now in grad school, less classes, of course, just more research and more on my own. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That makes sense. Yeah, it's definitely a lot on your plate, but it sounds like something you've been well prepared for, and being full time with grad school and pro swimming. And it's something that I think that a lot of people struggle with, for sure. Just work life balance, school life balance, whatever you want to term it. And then what does it look like socially outside of that? Is it impossible to have a social life, or do you feel like you have time for friends and family as well?
um I mean, I don't social life, I don't go out. And so I have friends in the respective areas of my life. So I got friends here in the lab, I got friends at swimming, which is really nice because I show up to practice and we have a good pro group that swim with us, a couple guys from Mexico, Bermuda, Iceland. And so I get to see those guys once, twice a day, and sometimes at the gym. And so I think I'm lucky that I can sort of get my social needs from the things that I'm already doing. So I'm not going out and, like, needing to find more
Yeah.
human interaction, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's very people oriented things that you're already involved in, so you
Yeah,
kind of have natural friend circles in there for sure.
absolutely.
Um, but you also mentioned, like, yeah, you're not really going out or doing many things. Can you talk about if you are wanting to be a pro swimmer, like, just maybe, and they might not even seem like sacrifices to you, but sacrifices you feel like people need to understand. Like if you do want to swim at this level, you have to make these choices. Are there things that come to mind around that subject?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know some people who are maybe don't make as many sacrifices in one area, but I do see. I think the common thread is just being able to show up in the pool. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
it's like a constant drive to be able to find something that you're doing every day to get better. And that doesn't mean that like every day you're showing up or going all out, but like, you know, if you can only give 50% today, you're giving 50% today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all the people that I've swam with that swim and perform at a high level have something where they can continuously improve in practice,
Hmm.
whatever that means for them.
Yeah, being able to try and be. It's not. That reminds me a lot of just the Kobe Bryant Mamba mentality of like a constant quest to be the best version of yourself.
Yes. Job's not
And
finished.
yes, job's not finished. I love it. And so many still, may he rest in peace, quotes that he has given and life lessons that I've learned from him and his story. But yeah, I love hearing something like that. That's a great way to put it. Um, have you had that mindset your entire life? Has that come from family, friends, coaches, just something that's been instilled in you? Where did you get that mindset? Because to me, I do um, sports psychology and mental skills training a lot. And I'm always interested in the mindset because I think everything starts with the mind.
Mm,
And one common thread that I'm noticing among all successful athletes is their mentality is just not the same as your average human. And I'm just wondering, where did yours come from? Who or what would you attribute it to? Life experience, certain people, mentors? Where does your mindset come from?
um, I think my definitely my parents helped all of us kids develop a good sense of, you know, perspective with a balance of always pursuing excellence, I guess. And you know, from I'm a Christian and from church too, I think just being able to do everything we do to the best of our abilities, I
Mm,
think is something that has been instilled in me from a young age.
that's
And that's where
awesome.
the perspective thing comes into a little bit, where, you know, I think I can have been able to just take back and separate like what is really important in life. And so I think that's been good for me
Yeah.
in both my careers.
That's awesome. So faith and family and
Yeah.
just perspective. That's incredible. Um, well, can you share some just about your Olympic game experience? Shifting gears here, because you said you went to Tokyo. You qualified a week before the deadline. Is that right to get there? So that must have been a wild rush. Can you share like that process, what that meet was like when you qualified, and then actually go into the games? Just what that experience was for you?
Yeah. Honestly, like swimming really took a crazy turn in 2020. It was it was the everything about it. I don't know how much time we have, but I can talk through it I can talk through it quickly. You know,
Go for it, man. Do your thing.
I'm in grad school. It's 2020, and I'm thinking that I'm gonna go to Hong Kong to try to qualify. You know, some of my Hong Kong teammates who are swimming with me at the time here in Virginia, they're like, there's this thing out in China, we need to go back. And then they say they're closing the borders or like implementing mandatory 2-week quarantine. And I'm like, frick, I mean, 2-week quarantine, you can't swim after 2 weeks, so I gotta go back too. Call my
Mhm.
professor, I'm like, listen, I need to head out. And he was like, that's fine. I pack for a month, I go over there, things get really bad. They cancel the meet, and I'm kind of in limbo. I'm like swimming in the ocean, like I got a wetsuit, training with some of my Hong Kong teammates, like doing dry land. And so, like, first time living in Hong Kong, and then end up like they postpone the Olympics. Like I'm swimming with Siobhan Hahi, the world record holder, 2-time Olympic silver medalist, doing like really heavy middle distance programs. Sometimes like 11K a day, multiple sessions, 4 gym sessions a week, just like really heavy training. And then
Yeah.
going through like lockdown. Come December, they have a health check. This is December of 2020. Health check. They say that there's something wrong with my heart, which I knew, but they're like, you got to do heart surgery to like figure this out. And I'm like, I don't want to do heart surgery.
Oh
Like,
my
what if I just tell you
gosh.
that I won't like, I'm not gonna sue you if I die? And they're like, that's not gonna cut it. I'm like, all right. So
Oh
it
my
was like
gosh.
2 weeks of time where I'm just like, I had the sets and I'm like rowing the sets, like kind of in secret because I don't want me to swim with the team. But I'd
Yeah.
take like the set and it's like 3 100s. I'd row for a minute and if they're on 110, I'd rest for 10 seconds. So
Wow.
hard, incredibly hard.
Yeah.
Rowing's a different animal. So
It's a
anyhow,
beast.
stayed in shape. Got heart surgery then, and then they started like back then you could
Dude.
have different time trials for countries to qualify for the Olympics. They've gotten rid of that rule for the Paris, but anyhow, we had a time trial in like March, two time trials in April, a time trial in June, and then or a time trial in May, and then two in June. And so basically like 4 or 5 chances to try to qualify. So I'm coming off
Uh-huh.
this heart surgery. It's non-invasive. It was just a cardiac ablation, nothing
Okay.
serious. But um,
Still a heart surgery. It's still intense. Yeah.
yeah, did that. First meet coming back like 22.7. The cut's like 22.01, right? 22.7. I'm like, all right, 6 week block, run it back. So
Mm-hmm.
back in the weight room the next day. Another 4 weeks of 5 weeks of hard work, like 1 week of taper to like April. And all right, run it back, 22.3. And then another 6 week block or 4 week block. Went back up, and now it's May, 22.09. And then
Oh wow.
2209, 2203. I'm like, all right, run it back. It's June. The cutoff is June 27th. There's two more meets. There's one in June 20th and one in June 27th. And June 20th, it's like 2201 in prelims or something like that. And then like 2197. And I made the cut like
That's
1 week before the
amazing.
cutoff. And so crazy, crazy stuff.
That's
And the
so
only guy who made
awesome.
it after me was a Mexican who made it on the 27th of
Okay.
June, I think. So as tight
Wow.
to the deadline as possible. And so,
Wow.
yeah.
What was so first of all, that's insane. Like that story of like growing while you weren't really supposed to be doing anything because you needed a heart surgery, and then coming back from that, hitting 22.7. I think a lot of people would think, yeah, I'm 7/10 away on a 50 free, and there's only a few months left before the Olympics. Like I'm maybe 2024. Like that would be a lot of people's mindset. And you're like, all right, 5 weeks, let's go hard. 1 week taper, see what we can do. 5 more weeks, let's go. What were you just in another world during that time? Like mentally, would you like? Do you feel like you developed a level of mentality during that time that was different from anything you had experienced, or was that just like this is Ian's mindset all along, but now it's like game time, and that was just your only option to get the thing you really wanted? What was that like for you?
Yeah. I would. So my best time at that time was I think at 21:18 or 22:18. So I knew I
Okay.
was at the end of the day 2 tenths away. So
Uh-huh.
22.7 was like we're coming off of hard surgery, like
Sure.
not yeah. And so I knew that I could get down to like I knew that at my very best I was at most 2 tenths away from making the cut. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was never like, oh man, like we got to really reevaluate. It was like, okay, we can just keep going. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, and maybe this was the only time in my entire swimming career where I've actually, it's gonna sound bad, but like set a goal for myself. Because up until now, like maybe you can tell, but it's just been like, oh no, we'll see where this happens. We'll see where it takes me. And this is like a
Mm-hmm.
very binary evaluation of my success in the sport. Do we make the Olympic A cut or do we not? And
Mm-hmm.
so uh, I think I think I definitely had some like mental like growing that happened in those 4 or 5 months before leading up to when I qualified eventually. And I think just towards the end, knowing that I would be okay regardless of if I made it or not, and being able
Mm-hmm.
to let go of like the pressures that come with this binary evaluation, being able to
Mm-hmm.
be like, you know what, whatever happens, at least I gave it my best. And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing for me, just like, it is as long as you put your best foot forward and you try your hardest. There's nothing more you can do, and you won't have any regrets. So
Yeah. Being able to not have regrets is something I want for everybody. It's like, um, a lot of people put a weight of like, oh, my my identity, my value is based on whether I swim fast in this meet or not, or whether
yeah,
I make this cut or not, or if I'm an Olympian or not. And it's like it's not true at
no,
all. Like it couldn't be
absolutely.
further from the truth. But being able to have a one-track mind where you are working as hard as you were, and as you put it, having like a very specific goal that you're really actually going after during that period, and like at the same time being like, I'll be okay if I
Yeah.
don't get this.
Yes.
um Man, that's not easy to do, because when you put so much time and effort and thought towards something, it can be easy for your identity and your what you're doing to start to blend together. um what's something that you've done, even in whether it be that time or even now currently, to help you keep, hey, who I am is separate from what I do in the pool. What I do and who I am are two different things. Because that's hard for people. What you put most of your time into, people really struggle, and that's why I think it's hard when people swimming careers end, and they're like, who am I? Who am I outside of this sport? It doesn't sound like that's I'm not going to say not a struggle, because I'm sure it's always a fight. Like, if you're struggling, you're fighting, but it doesn't sound like that's ever been something you've bought into. Like, I am a swimmer. What's how have you done that?
That's a great question, and I totally relate to those people who I've seen come through the maybe the college swimming scene or have graduated pro swimming and now have to repivot their lives towards, something that's not swimming oriented or that they've dedicated their entire lives to. And I think that's tough. And I guess it just comes back to like you're not defined by what you do. I could be You're not defined by like what degree you have. It's knowing that like you have inherent value regardless of your actions.
Mm-hmm.
I think we as a society maybe don't have that view all the time, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know how like it must just be like my upbringing or my faith that lets me have that feeling towards life.
Mm-hmm. Just being able to see, hey, there's a much bigger picture to this
You know?
than just the sport, just the times, just the cuts. And so no, I think that's super important. And I know it'll look like something different for everyone. For some people it'll be faith, for some people it'll be family, for some people it'll be meaning that comes from a different source. Um but you really will at some point, in my opinion, be super depressed when swimming ends, if swimming is everything to you, because it can't be that. Like, it can't hold the weight of being your identity, because it's
Yeah.
just not good enough.
And
If
then
that makes
you might go on to achieve everything you want to do in swimming and then still find that you it's you're not fully satisfied. And I
hmm,
know people like that.
hmm. And sometimes, to that point, those people can be the most dissatisfied because they
Yeah.
spent so much time and effort and passion on one thing, and then they got there and they're like, wait, they got everything. I got everything I thought I wanted, and I'm even more empty, because like, what else is there? I got an
Yeah.
Olympic gold, or I got a world record, and it's like, there's got to be something more than this.
Yeah.
And you hear those stories constantly from like athletes at the top level in every sport. And it's not that the pursuit isn't worth it, it's that the focus or the identity in the pursuit has been misplaced at some point, and you
Yeah.
realize, hey, this it's got to be more than just the time, the record, the recognition, or whatever. And it just sounds like you've done an incredible job with that for multiple reasons. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I want all of the athletes in the Swim Strong program and across the swimming world to know that their identity is so much deeper than the sport. So I really appreciate that. Um, how about at the Olympic Games? Kind of last subject here. I know we're hitting our time here, but I wanna just hear what the experience was like in Tokyo. If you have any like moments where you just remember being there, where you like overly nervous when you got there, where you just like, I've made it, I can swim free? What was the experience like just standing there representing Hong Kong and being on the world stage?
So cool. So cool. Some of my teammates who have been to multiple Olympics were like, it's different because of COVID, no spectators, but I mean, it's incredible. The Olympics is electric. Opening ceremony was amazing. Like you're just walking 4 hours with a parade of other countries. I mean, and then you gotta be out in this massive stadium. And then the pool, of course, was the facility is incredible, and just the feeling of being there, and it's you can just feel it. All the other athletes are buzzing, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very social person. I love just meeting new people and being able to talk to people, exchanging pins with them, and everything about the Olympics. And Japan put on a phenomenal one. They had great food and everything about that experience. I wouldn't change it. Oh, and Hong Kong as a nation did incredibly well at the Tokyo Olympics. So that support was insane. Typically, historically, Hong Kong has won like one medal every
Mm-hmm.
8 years, so every other Olympic cycle. And so, the last one was a bronze in track cycling in, I can't remember if it was 2008 or 2012, but 2016 we won 6 medals. And of course, all of Hong Kong, all 8 million people in Hong Kong were like, dude, we care about sports. They put on like they have these huge malls that are like 7 to 10 or 7 to 11 stories tall, and they have like these monitors, and they'd be live streaming all of the
Wow,
different sports or whatever Hong Kong athlete would be participating, and those
that's
would be
amazing.
shared. Like when we win a gold medal, they would put on the cruise ship like congratulations to whoever won the medal.
Mm-hmm.
We love and support you, and all this like
Wow.
crazy stuff. So Hong Kong was great, and so it
That's so
made
cool.
like a city of many people feel like family, which is really special.
That is so cool to be able to bring sports have like that power to bring people together and like get out of the division of life and just come together and to be able to give people hope and inspiration like that.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that how good that must have felt, but to be a part of that is truly special, I'm sure. And um well, as a final note, one, I appreciate you taking all this time sharing your story with everybody here. It's
of
pretty
course.
incredible. If you could leave us with one piece of advice for the person who is on your path, like, or in similar shoes of like, um, maybe coming out of high school as a walk on, like maybe not sure how far they can go with the sport, like, love the sport, but maybe have been overlooked at a younger age. But they know they have a lot left. Like what advice would you give to your younger self or to someone who's in your shoes right now, looking back, just as like a encouragement to them?
I think make sure you surround yourself with good people. I think that's been something that I've been blessed with, having good people, good teammates, good coaches, and then don't don't put too much pressure on yourself. I'm 26, but you're 16, 17. Like you got the whole world ahead of you. Don't stress too much. Life will go on, and it'll be okay.
That's
And
awesome.
make sure you work on your underwaters at an early age.
I love it. That's such good advice. Surround yourself with great people, and don't put too much. Like it's gonna be okay. Don't take it too serious. Like that's awesome. And the underwaters. That'll get you far too. So
Dude, it's the new. I mean, all these young kids are getting really good, and I think it's because of the underwaters.
it is crazy to see the evolution of the fifth stroke and just the sport in general. It's so fun to watch. But Ian, it's been a pleasure to have you on here. Thanks so much for taking the time. Thanks for all you're doing for the swimming community. And we'll be cheering for you like crazy as you head up to Paris, man. The Swim Strong family will have your back. So thanks again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Got it. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch a new episode each Monday. You can also check us out on social media at SwimStrong Dryland. If you would like to join the SwimStrong family, visit our website at swimstrongdryland.com.